In March, former Statistician General Pali Lehohla will join 22 on SLOANE as a research resident advisor. Mr. Lehohla was at the helm of Statistics South Africa for almost 17 years. Now, 22 on SLOANE is a development campus and entrepreneurship hub that was recently launched by the Minister of Small Business Development. His role will include, amongst others, mentoring younger researchers, working with startups at SLOANE and co-authoring annual research on the state of entrepreneurship in Africa. So nice to see you. Welcome.
No, thank you very much. It's great to be back.
And congratulations on your new position, which you're starting in March. It sounds amazing. I mean, this is what you've been working towards for all these years.
Well, I think the biggest frustration I've had has been the lack of attention to use of data. And I suppose this will put me on the spot.
Indeed.
And see whether I am capable of doing that. I think that's the biggest headache I'll have. But it's a very interesting issue that has needed attention long time ago.
Yeah, it certainly does. And I mean, you in this capacity as Statistician General for 17 years, all the stuff that we've been talking about, particularly now with Nkosanathi and with Iraj,
yes.
Talking about Eskom, talking about the numbers, the figures, the warning signs, you've seen them all.
Well, I mean, we read the signs and said we need to attend to education. And certainly we shouldn't put barriers to people going to acquire education, because that's the only thing that will solve the problem.
Yeah.
And I think at the heart of it, we have an opportunity now to confront the issues of whether we fund education or we fund nuclear or we fund. So we can be very, very serious about how we attend to issues in South Africa. I think this presents a position, albeit late, wasted time, wasted resources, degenerative society, but nonetheless a possibility of addressing these issues.
I need to ask you then, when the announcement was made by our president at the end of last year that free tertiary education would be introduced, do you think that is a good thing? I mean, from the numbers,
I think it's a good thing.
Can we afford it though?
It can't be whether we can afford it. It's whether we can afford a situation where there is no demographic dividend for 90% of the population. So trying to answer the question by saying can it be affordable or not, one has to look at the alternative of a situation where the majority of the population is in that kind of comatose in terms of how they address the nation. I think we can't afford that. Therefore, we should afford the education. There is money in the country. What we have to do is to ensure that priorities are priorities and allow society to debate those priorities.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of, that's the education out the way, and I like your views on that, because I know you stand very firm on education, and we need to find a way to make this happen.
It can't be argued about whether there's money or not.
We've got to make it happen.
It has to happen, because if it doesn't, the situation will be worse.
In terms of Eskom, you've looked at Eskom, you've looked at those numbers, you've looked at the deterioration of Eskom over the years. What happened this weekend? Is this what we need? And this needs to happen fast. I mean, give us your views on it.
Yes, indeed. I mean, this has to happen very fast. The situation in South Africa is a sad one. We have broken the foundations. And once we've broken the foundations, it becomes more expensive and more difficult to rebuild. And I think time to rebuild, and rebuild fast.
Yeah. If you had to sit down and give advice to the incoming leadership within the ANC, because there are going to be a lot of changes, whether we like it or not, already there's a change of guard within the ANC, and I think this is going to ripple. I mean, it's only been a month and so much has been done. What is that advice you would give them?
We lost the plot. We used to have scenarios during Thabo Mbeki's time. And those scenarios, amongst them was this kedonk. And when President Zuma came in, we never discussed that as public service, as cabinet. We need to get back to those scenarios so that we can, in a calm manner, agree and argue whether that's the outcome we want. Those scenarios predicted this period and predicted what we are seeing today.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to do.
In terms of rumors that President Jacob Zuma...
No, I'll not comment on that.
You don't want to comment
I don't know about that, but I can talk about things that I'm aware of,
and
I'm sure of. And of course, the being at this campus, not so much, it gives me an opportunity to talk to young people, to rejuvenate myself, and to learn about entrepreneurship. We studied Marxism at university. And they said, what's this allocation of surplus value to entrepreneurs? That doesn't exist. You produce, these are the factors of production, and entrepreneurship was not one of them. But it's very clear that entrepreneurship, the ability to solve problems, and the relentless possibility of doing so on a sustainable fashion, and having been a Statistician General looking at sustainable development goals, gives me the opportunity to look at sustainability, problem solving, and advising through research.
Yeah, which I think is invaluable to any student that comes under you. But just in terms of you start in March?
I start in March. Well, of course, I've been there already. We are in discussion as to how this should run. I am learning myself. The enthusiasm there is great on 22 on Sloan. And it's young, it's an African institution. I like the Pan-Africanism part of it. And I think the regeneration of Africa is quite possible, operating in 42 countries already in Africa, but the largest campus here in South Africa. It's exciting. And the young man, Kizito Okechukwu, who is Nigerian, I mean, he's 30 years only. Yeah. But how he grew into that over the last 10 years, it's amazing. I mean, I talked to him and he said, I said to him, you know, Kizito, I never gave you a tip. He said, you and Jabu Mabuza, the current chair, you never gave me a tip. But when you discussed and talked with me when I was working at Sun International at the front office, those were the tips I got.
Amazing.
It's amazing.
Isn't that incredible? Well, listen, we wish you the best of luck, and we cannot wait to talk to you once you've begun, you've gotten into it, and follow your work very, very closely. This is our former Statistician General, who is now joining 22 on Sloan, and I know we're still going to hear so much from you, and keep up the amazing work. Thank you for being with us on One.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely lovely to have you.